The alien scholar who laughed at Earth. Zerani sat in the back row of the Academy's great hall. Her silver skin shimmered under the tall glass ceiling. Around her sat alien students from many planets. The galaxy's smartest minds were here to study war, peace, and the strange past of other species. On the big screen, old Earth war footage played. Smoke, fire, and shouting humans filled the air. Soldiers ran through burning cities. Machines rolled over the ground. Explosions shook the camera. The alien students watched in silence, some shocked, some curious. But not Zerani. She laughed. "Look at them," she said, "running around with fire and sticks. These are your brave warriors." The teacher, a tall red alien named Morkel, frowned. "Zerani," he said, "these are not toys. This was the fire war. Many died. These humans fought hard." Zerani crossed her arms. They fought like animals. No order, no real tech, just chaos. Another student whispered, "But they survived. And their planet still stands." Zerani smirked. Luck or lies? The screen changed. A name appeared, Captain Rainkeller. A human in dark armor stood beside a broken wall. His face was scared, his eyes cold. "This," said Morkel, "is one of Earth's greatest heroes. He saved a city during the flame storms. He stayed behind when everyone else ran." Zerani rolled her eyes. A dramatic story, made up to look brave. Morkel looked directly at her. "Be careful, Zerani. Humans may be strange to us, but their strength is not fake." But Zerani didn't care. She had studied Earth's history. It was full of war, fire, and old legends. To her, it was noise, nothing compared to her own people's power. Her species, the Varelians, had the best weapons, fastest ships, and smartest minds. Why respect humans? That evening, Zerani sat in the Academy library. She flipped through a human data file. It told the story of Captain Rainkeller. He stayed behind when a firestorm hit Earth. Everyone else had left. But he stayed to protect something. No one knew what. Some said he died in the flames. Others said he vanished. Some believed he was still alive, hiding in the burnt zone. Zerani laughed again. Ghost stories. Just then, a message pinged across the Academy network. Top students selected for Earth field mission. Prepare for transport in 48 hours. Zerani blinked. She had been chosen. Her mission: explore the burnt zone, what remained of the place Captain Keller had defended. She smiled. Perfect. Time to prove the human legend is just a joke. 2 days later, Zerani stood with her team inside a sleek Virelian ship. The stars rushed past as they flew toward Earth. Her armor shone in dark green. Her eyes scanned the data again. The burnt zone was once a city. Now it was ashes. No one lived there anymore. Not even animals. Her teammate, Jorel, looked nervous. "Why do we need to go there? There's nothing left." "Old tech," Zerani said. "Maybe something useful. Or dangerous," Jorel whispered. As they entered Earth's orbit, the mood changed. The planet below looked quiet. Blue oceans, green forests. But the burnt zone was a black scar on its surface. The ship landed near broken buildings. The ground was cracked. The air smelled like burnt metal. "Stay close," Zerani said. The team moved through the ruins. Strange symbols were carved into walls. Human writing. Some still glowing faintly. Zerani laughed. They really loved their old heroes. She kicked a burnt helmet. It rolled and hit a metal wall. Dust flew up. Suddenly, the team's scanner beeped. "Movement?" Jorel asked. "No," Zerani said. "Glitch." But the scanner beeped again. Then again. And again. A shadow moved past a broken tower. Zerani raised her hand. Everyone stopped. They stood still. The wind blew ash through the air. A creaking sound came from deep inside the ruins. Jorel whispered, "Are we alone?" Zerani didn't answer. Her eyes fell on a steel door, half open. On it, scratched deep into the metal, were 5 letters. R. Keller. Zerani's smile faded. It couldn't be real. She stepped forward. Her hand reached for the door. Suddenly, boom! A fire blast shot from the ground. The team screamed. Flames rose around them. The heat was blinding. Zerani stumbled, coughing, falling. Then, a hand grabbed her wrist. Strong, rough. A voice growled, low and clear. "You shouldn't have come here, Varelian." She looked up and saw human eyes staring down at her through a helmet. Arrival on Earth, the burnt zone. The sky above Earth was not blue. It was gray. Thick clouds covered the sun. Wind carried ash through the air like black snow. Lightning cracked far in the distance, but no thunder followed. The land below was quiet, too quiet. Zerani stood near the edge of the ramp as the ship doors opened. A wave of heat hit her face. The smell of burned stone and old metal filled her lungs. "This is it," she said softly. "The burnt zone." The team behind her looked nervous. Even the strongest warriors stayed close together. No one spoke. No one laughed. Not even Zerani. She had expected ruins, but this felt worse. The silence was heavy, like a warning. The buildings were broken skeletons, metal beams bent like melted sticks. Black marks stretched across the ground like scars. Something had happened here, something violent, something wrong. They moved forward, boots crunching over the dust. Each of them wore armor and carried scanners. Their goal was simple: find anything useful in the ruins. Human tech, energy cores, records, anything that survived the fire war. But the burnt zone didn't feel empty. It felt like it was waiting. Zerani led the way, her scanner blinking softly. She tried to act calm, but her eyes kept watching the shadows. Her hand stayed near her weapon. This place wasn't just destroyed. It was haunted by memory. "Do you hear that?" whispered Jorel. Zerani stopped. "Hear what?" Jorel pointed. "That, like humming." The group fell silent. Then they heard it. A low hum. Soft, steady, like something alive. But there was nothing in sight. Zerani frowned. Maybe an old power system. But deep inside, she wasn't sure. They walked deeper into the ruins. The buildings grew taller, darker. Old banners hung from broken walls, faded symbols of human pride. Some showed the face of a man with a hard jaw and cold eyes. Captain Rain Keller. Zerani scoffed, still worshipping him even after death. She kicked a small metal plate. It flew through the air and clanged against a door. Suddenly, beep. Her scanner blinked red. "Movement detected," it said. Jorel jumped. "There's something here." Zerani narrowed her eyes. "It's probably just a power glitch." But she felt her heartbeat speed up. The team spread out slowly. They moved like shadows, quiet and careful. The air grew hotter. A red glow shimmered far away, like fire behind walls. Zerani touched a door. It was warm. "We should turn back," said a voice behind her. Zerani shook her head. "No, we go forward." She opened the door. Inside was a hallway, burnt, black, and cracked. But on the wall was something strange. An old human flag, half burned, still holding on. And beneath it, words scratched in the metal. "Still standing." Jorel whispered, "This place gives me chills." The hallway led to a large room, or what used to be one. Half the roof was gone. A giant hole in the floor opened into darkness. At the edge of the hole stood a large steel door. And on the door, R. Keller. Zerani stepped forward. She didn't smile this time. Her mouth was dry, her chest tight. She reached out to touch the door. Boom! The ground shook. Fire erupted to the left. The wall exploded outward. A blast wave knocked everyone down. Smoke filled the room. The air turned red. Zerani coughed, crawling on the floor. Flames licked at her arms. She reached for her team, but couldn't see anyone. "Jorel, Mira," she shouted. No answer. Just fire. Then, a shadow moved through the smoke. Heavy steps. A tall figure walked toward her, slow but steady. She reached for her weapon, but it was gone. She tried to stand, but her leg was hurt. The figure came closer. Through the smoke, she saw armor. Black, scorched. A human shape. A face under a helmet. Then a hand reached down and grabbed her arm. She looked up. "Wah." A voice spoke. Low. Angry. Real. "You shouldn't have come here, alien." Zerani froze. The man pulled her up like she weighed nothing. His eyes were sharp, cold, filled with memories of war. Zerani's heart pounded. This wasn't a legend. This was a man. Alive. Real. Captain Rain Keller. The human ghost in the fire. Zerani had seen many warriors in her life. Tall ones. Strong ones. Proud ones. But this human, this man standing in the flames, was different. His armor was old, black and scratched. It looked like it had been burned 1,000 times and patched up 1,000 more. The helmet he wore had deep cracks, and ash clung to every part of him like a second skin. But his grip was strong. Stronger than anything Zerani expected. She stared at him, her breath caught in her throat. You're Captain Rain Keller?" she asked, her voice shaky. The man said nothing at first. He just turned and pulled her forward through the smoke, dragging her away from the fire like she weighed nothing. His steps were slow but full of purpose. Zerani stumbled beside him. Her leg hurt, her head spun. But she didn't resist. She couldn't. The fire behind them roared, chasing their backs. But Keller seemed to know exactly where to go. Through broken walls, under collapsed beams, around traps he hadn't even seen. They moved like ghosts through a graveyard. At last, they reached a hidden door behind a thick wall of rubble. He tapped something on his wrist. The door slid open with a hiss. Inside was a tunnel, cold, dark, and quiet. The firestorm vanished behind them. Zerani finally spoke again. "You're not supposed to be alive." Keller didn't look at her. He walked forward and muttered, "A lot of things aren't supposed to happen, but they do." The tunnel led to a small underground bunker. Dim lights flickered along the ceiling. Dust floated through the air. The room smelled like metal and smoke. There were beds, tools, maps, and weapons. On one wall, there were photos, old human faces, a group of smiling soldiers standing beside Captain Keller, back when his armor was clean and his eyes were warmer. Zerani looked around. It felt like time had stopped here. "You've been living here?" she asked. Keller sat on a metal chair and pulled off his helmet. His face was scared. A long burn ran across his cheek. His beard was rough, and his eyes were hollow, but sharp. "I've been watching," he said, "waiting." Zerani frowned. "For what?" He looked at her for a long time, then pointed at her armor. "For people like you." Zerani crossed her arms. "I came here on a research mission. You almost killed my team." "You came to steal what you don't understand," he said coldly. "That's how it always starts." Zerani wanted to argue, but she didn't. Not yet. Keller stood up and walked to the corner of the room. He opened a panel in the wall and revealed a hologram. A large map of the burnt zone appeared, marked with red zones, hidden traps, and energy spikes. "You don't know this place," he said. "You think you do, but you don't." Zerani watched carefully. "Then tell me, what happened here?" Keller didn't answer right away. Instead, he walked to a shelf and picked up a small object, a human dog tag. He held it in his hand like it was made of glass. "This city," he said slowly, was full of people, families, children, soldiers. When the firestorms came, they ran. I stayed. I told my squad to leave. I told them I'd cover the escape. Zerani listened in silence. But the storms weren't natural. They weren't from Earth. They were alien-made, created to destroy this place, created to hide something. He looked at her. You know who did it? Zerani blinked. No. Your people, he said. The Varelians. Zerani took a step back. That's not true. Keller's eyes turned sharp. Don't lie to me. I saw their ships. I saw the weapons. Your tech. Your flame bombs. Zerani opened her mouth to deny it, but stopped. Deep down, she knew her species had many secrets. Keller continued. They wanted what was under this city, the vault. A weapon. Something ancient. They thought it was lost. But it's still here. And I'm the last one guarding it. He leaned closer. And now you're here. Zerani's heart pounded. I didn't come for weapons, she said. I came for knowledge. Then leave, he said. I can't. My team. They're gone, Keller said quietly, taken by the flames. Or worse. Zerani felt a sharp pain in her chest. She remembered the screams, the fire, the way they disappeared in smoke. She sat down slowly. For the first time in her life, she didn't know what to say. After a long silence, Keller walked to a storage box and tossed her a bottle of water. Rest, he said. You'll need it. Zerani looked up at him. Why are you helping me? He didn't answer right away. Then he said, because once, I would have done anything to save even one person. He walked away into the shadows of the bunker, leaving her sitting there, shaken. Zerani leaned back, staring at the ceiling. She had laughed at human legends. Now one had just saved her life. Nightfall. Secrets of the Flame Hero. Night came fast in the burnt zone. The bunker lights flickered as the wind howled outside. Firestorms danced far in the distance, glowing red through cracks in the wall like the eyes of some ancient beast. Zerani sat on a cold bench, her armor off, her leg wrapped in old bandages. She stared at the rusted floor, silent. The heat from the storm outside made the walls sweat. Captain Keller stood on the other side of the room, sharpening a blade. Not a plasma weapon, just a simple, heavy knife. Human steel. The silence between them was thick. Zerani finally spoke. Why haven't you left this place? Keller didn't look at her. He kept sharpening, slow and steady. Because I made a promise. To who? She asked. He paused, then answered, everyone who died here. Zerani leaned forward. You stayed behind. All this time, just to protect a weapon. Keller stopped moving. He put the blade down and turned to face her. His eyes were dark, but not empty. It's not just a weapon, he said. It's something older, something powerful, something the galaxy should never touch. He walked over to a metal panel on the wall. With a press of his hand, the panel slid open, revealing a small hidden room. Zerani stood, limping slowly behind him. Inside, the air felt cooler. Lights turned on, one by one, as they entered. She saw what looked like human technology. Wires, glowing crystals, a circular device floating inside a glass pod. What is it? She asked. Keller looked at the device. It's called the Flame Core. We found it buried deep under this city years ago. No one built it. Not even us. It was here long before humans. Zerani frowned. Alien tech. He nodded. Maybe. Maybe not. All we know is, when it activates, fire spreads. Cities burn. Skies turn black. Zerani stepped closer. You kept it here. Hidden. I tried to destroy it, Keller said. Nothing worked, so I locked it down. Built traps. Stayed behind. Watched. Zerani felt cold despite the heat outside. Her people had wanted this. She remembered how the old data files called the Fire War a mystery. Now she knew the truth. They hadn't come to study. They'd come to take. And maybe she was helping them without even knowing. She looked at Keller. What happens if someone turns it on again? He stared at her. Then the galaxy burns. Later that night, Zerani couldn't sleep. She lay on a thin cot in the corner of the bunker. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw fire. Her teammates screaming. Joral's hand reaching through the smoke. And vanishing. She sat up. Keller was sitting near the vault room. He wasn't sleeping either. Zerani stood slowly and walked over. "You don't sleep?" she asked. Keller gave a tired smile. "Not well." She sat beside him, resting her back against the wall. A long silence passed. Then she asked, "Do you ever regret staying?" He looked at the wall across from them, where photos of his fallen squad were hung. "Every day," he said. "But I'd regret leaving even more." Zerani lowered her head. "I used to think humans were dramatic, full of old stories and fake bravery." Keller gave a soft chuckle. "We are, but sometimes the stories are true." She looked at him. "You saved me, after I insulted everything you stood for." He shrugged. "You were just loud. I've seen worse." She smiled weakly. "So, you forgive me?" He didn't answer right away. Then he said, "You remind me of someone. She was smart, proud, argued with me all the time." "Your partner?" Zerani asked. Keller nodded. "She was part of my squad. She believed in peace. She thought maybe the Varelians could be allies." Zerani felt a lump in her throat. What happened to her? Keller's eyes darkened. She trusted someone who betrayed her, gave up her position, led enemies straight to our base. Zerani looked down. "I'm sorry." He nodded slowly. "Me too." Another long silence. Then Keller stood. "Get some sleep. We move at dawn." Zerani blinked. "Move where?" "To the vault," he said. "It's time you saw everything." He walked away, his shadow long against the flickering lights. Zerani lay back down, but her heart didn't rest. She thought of her people. She thought of the Flame Corps. And she thought of Keller, this broken man who chose to stay behind, haunted by loss, driven by duty. She had mocked his story. Now she was part of it. Betrayal in the ash. The morning came without sunlight. Dark clouds still covered the sky, and ash still floated in the wind like quiet snow. The fires outside had calmed, but the heat in the air never left. Inside the bunker, Zerani stood near a small mirror, staring at her own reflection. Her eyes were tired. Her face was marked with dirt and worry. The proud Virelian warrior she once was looked different now. She turned her gaze to the wall where Keller's squad photos hung. Each face had a name, a story, a life ended in flames. Zerani remembered her mission, the one she had accepted before leaving the academy. She remembered the secret message she had sent from the ruins, before everything went wrong. She whispered, "What have I done?" Keller walked ahead of her now, leading her through a half-buried hallway beneath the ruins. They were deep underground. The walls here were smooth and strange, old stone mixed with human metal, as if someone long ago had built over something ancient. "You said we're going to the vault," Zerani said quietly. Keller nodded. "We're close." He stopped near a large door, round, silver, and humming with quiet power. Symbols glowed faintly around the edges, not in any known language. Zerani stared. "This isn't human design." "No," Keller said. "We found it buried under the city during the war. We didn't build it. We didn't even open it. It opened on its own." He touched a panel beside the door. It scanned his hand. The door began to shift, gears turning, lights flashing. With a hiss, it slid open. Inside was a chamber full of light. Floating in the middle was the flame core. It pulsed slowly like a beating heart. Orange and red energy spun around it in slow circles. The air inside the vault felt alive, hot and heavy. Zerani stepped closer. "What is it?" she asked again. Keller's voice was flat. "No one knows. All we know is, when it's taken from this vault, the fire spreads." He pointed to the walls, where old burned-out panels showed past footage, cities being destroyed, alien ships falling from the sky, Earth itself shaking. All this happened because someone tried to control the flame core. Zerani stared at the swirling device. "It's beautiful," she said softly. "And deadly," Keller replied. Later, back in the bunker, Keller made food in silence. The fire from a small stove lit up the room in soft red light. Zerani sat on her cot, holding a small silver cube in her hands. It was her signal device, the one she had used to contact the Virelian scouts on her first day. Back then, she didn't care about Keller. She didn't care about Earth. She only wanted to complete her mission, to bring glory to her name, to impress her people. But now, she wasn't sure anymore. She held the device tight. Her thumb hovered over the button. One signal, and Virelian warships would come. They would take the flame core. They would kill Keller. She closed her eyes. I shouldn't have sent the message. But it was too late. The signal had already been sent days ago. And now it was being answered. That night, while Keller slept in his chair, Zerani walked outside the bunker. The sky was black, and the wind screamed through broken buildings. She stood still, heart pounding, eyes scanning the sky. Then she saw them. 3 Virelian ships, flying low over the ruins. Sleek, silent, hidden from Earth satellites. She knew them well. Special Ops class. They were here for the core. Zerani stepped back into the bunker, her face pale. Keller was already awake, standing near the table, gun in hand. "You signaled them, didn't you?" he asked quietly. Zerani froze. "I didn't mean," she started. But he raised a hand. "Don't lie." She lowered her eyes. "It was before I knew the truth. Before I saw what this place really is." Keller's jaw tightened. "They'll be here in minutes," he said. "I'll stop them," she said. "Let me speak to them." "No," Keller said sharply. "They won't listen. And if they get to the core, it's over. For Earth, for your people, for everyone." Zerani stepped forward. "I'll fight with you." Keller looked at her for a long time. "You already betrayed me," he said. "Why should I trust you now?" She didn't answer, because she didn't know if she could forgive herself. The ground shook as the first Virelian team landed. Zerani stood beside Keller, both in armor, both silent. The bunker lights dimmed as energy weapons powered up above. "They'll come through the upper tunnel," Keller said. "That's the fastest way to the vault." Zerani nodded. "Let's make it their last." Keller glanced at her, his eyes still full of fire. "Don't die trying to fix a mistake," he said. Zerani tightened her grip on her weapon. "Then help me make it right." The last stand together. The sky above the burnt zone turned red. Not the soft red of a sunset. No, this was war red, angry, loud, full of fire. The wind howled like a wounded beast, and ash rose in clouds as the Virelian dropships landed in the ruins with the quietness of death. Captain Rain Keller stood at the top of the bunker's outer platform, his old rifle resting on his shoulder. He didn't move. He didn't flinch. He had seen this before. Too many times. But this time, it was different. Beside him stood Zerani. She had once laughed at human bravery. Now she wore it on her face. Her eyes were hard. Her grip was steady. She had chosen her side. 3 squads, she said, checking the motion scanner, all armed, moving toward the vault. "They'll come fast," Keller said. "They think no one can stop them." Zerani looked at him. "They're wrong." Keller almost smiled. The first Virelian squad entered the lower corridor, silent and clean. They moved like water through shadows, scanning for movement, weapons ready. Then they stepped on Keller's traps. Boom! The floor exploded beneath them. Flames shot upward. 2 were thrown back, screaming. The rest fired in panic. Zerani watched from above. "Your traps still work." "They always do," Keller said, reloading his weapon. A second squad climbed the far wall, using grapples to bypass the corridor. One aimed for the vault tunnel. Keller didn't wait. He pulled the trigger. Crack! The alien dropped like a stone. "Nice shot," Zerani muttered. "Been practicing for years," he replied. The fight had started. Inside the bunker, alarms flashed red. Energy pulses echoed down the halls. The flame core pulsed brighter with every second, like it could feel the tension rising. Zerani ran through the inner corridor, blasting a soldier trying to flank them. She jumped over rubble and ducked behind steel. More Varelians followed, calling to her in their own language. "Zerani, step aside. You belong with us." She hesitated only a second. Then she shouted back, "Not anymore." She fired, hitting one in the chest. Keller fought like a ghost. Quiet, brutal, unshaken. He used fire, steel, and instinct. When he ran out of bullets, he switched to knives. When he lost his blade, he used his hands. He wasn't fighting to win. He was fighting to protect. The flame core wasn't just a weapon. It was a curse, one he had sworn to keep buried. And now it was almost exposed. He ran through smoke and blood, looking for Zerani. They met again near the vault door. Zerani was limping, her armor scorched. Keller had a long gash on his arm, but he didn't stop moving. "They're almost through," she said. "One last squad, heavily armed." Keller glanced at the vault. "If they get in, the core reacts. Fire spreads. This city burns again." Zerani breathed hard. "Then we don't let them through." She walked to the control panel beside the vault. "What are you doing?" Keller asked. "I'm locking the door," she said, "from the inside." He stepped toward her. "You'll be trapped." "I caused this," she said, voice tight. "I signaled them. I let this happen. Let me end it." Keller stared at her. Then he did something she didn't expect. He nodded and stepped inside with her. "What are you?" "We do this together," he said. "You said you wanted to make it right. Then we both see it through." Zerani's chest tightened. She locked the door. The last Virelian squad reached the vault hallway moments later. They fired at the steel, but it was sealed tight. Inside, Keller and Zerani prepared the final defense. They had a few weapons. Not many. They had wounds. And a cause. That was enough. The walls shook as the enemies tried to breach. Keller looked at the flame core. "It's reacting to them," he said. "The closer they get, the hotter it burns." "Then we hold them off," Zerani said. "We give it no reason to explode." "Exactly," Keller said. She looked at him. "You trust me now?" He gave a rare, soft smile. "I never trusted Varelians." Pause. "But I trust you." The breach came fast. The door cracked. Keller and Zerani stood shoulder to shoulder as smoke poured in. Gunfire lit up the room. Zerani hit the first 2 through the opening. Keller rolled forward, slamming one into the wall. They fought like 2 parts of the same machine. No longer alien and human, but just survivors. Just warriors. The flame core burned behind them, brighter now. Its hum became a roar. Then, a final explosion. The screen fades to black. Silence. The legend lives, and so does she. The fire was gone. The sky above the burnt zone was quiet for the first time in years. The wind no longer screamed through broken towers. The ground no longer shook. But the silence wasn't peace. It was morning. A rescue ship hovered above the ruins. Its lights scanned the ash-covered land below. Soldiers moved carefully, searching for signs of life. Inside the ship, Zerani sat on a metal bench, wrapped in a thermal blanket. Her armor was cracked. Her skin burned. Her hands trembled, not from pain, but from memory. She stared out the window. Down there, beneath the black stone and fire, was Captain Rain Keller. Gone. Hours earlier, inside the flame vault, the walls had nearly collapsed. Zerani and Keller had held the line until the last second. They fought until their weapons failed, until their armor broke, until their bodies gave out. Keller had known it was over. The flame core had begun to pulse out of control. It reacted to the violence, to the presence of so many enemies. It wanted to unleash fire once more. But Keller had a final plan. He'd looked at Zerani and said the words she would never forget. "You have to go. You can still change something. I already made my choice long ago." She had shouted, argued, begged. But Keller didn't listen. He activated the last emergency seal. He shoved her out through a side door. And then he closed it, locked himself in. She heard his voice through the comm, just once. "Tell them. I stayed, because someone had to." Then the comm went silent. A white-hot light burst behind the walls, and the flame core went still. Back in the present, the ship's engines hummed low as it rose higher. Earth's sky was still dark from smoke, but in the distance, dawn tried to break through. Zerani held something in her hand. Keller's dog tag. She had found it lying on a rock near the vault's ruins, untouched, as if left there for her. Her fingers closed around it. The rescue commander walked over. "You're lucky," he said. "That storm almost buried the whole site." Zerani looked up slowly. "I wasn't lucky," she said. "I was saved." The commander paused. "You think he's really gone?" She didn't answer. Not with words. She simply looked down at the earth below, at the burned ruins, now silent, at the vault that would never open again. And she whispered, "He's not gone. Not where it matters." Weeks passed. Zerani returned to her people, not as a warrior, not as a scout, but as a witness. She stood before the Varelian High Council, tall, quiet, changed. They asked what happened to the mission. She told them everything. The truth. About the flame core. About the war. About Keller. One counselor scoffed. "You expect us to believe a human legend." The lone man stopped 3 squads. Zerani stepped forward. She placed Keller's dog tag on the table between them. "No," she said, "not a legend. A soldier. A man who stood when the galaxy turned its back. A man who made me see who we are." The chamber fell silent. Not long after, reports came in. Ships near the burnt zone had picked up something strange, a distant signal. Weak, broken, but real. A human code. And one word. Still standing. Zerani heard the message herself. She smiled. "Of course he is." Months later, Zerani walked alone through the edge of the burnt zone. The ground had begun to grow green again. Life was returning, slowly, painfully. She found the place where the old bunker once stood. Now, only cracked stone and metal remained. But on a rock, she found a jacket. Keller's, folded neatly. And next to it, a set of fresh footprints, leading toward the hills. She didn't follow. She just stood there, wind blowing through her hair, the silence full of meaning. Then, she whispered, "I mocked your legends, but you gave me something better. You gave me a reason to believe." She placed her hand on her chest, then walked away. Strong, changed, and no longer alone. The end.